Okay, calling to order the public safety meeting. Today is February 10th, 2026 at 6:31 p.m. We're running a little behind. My name is Brian Travis. I'm the chair of the Public Safety Committee and Quality of Life. I'm with my colleagues Lisa Kearns and Brian McGinnis. Now that the meeting has been called to order, we'll move on to number 2 on the agenda, which is announcements. Do we have any announcements? Seeing none, we will move on to comments, suggestions, petitions by residents, taxpayers, and visitors in attendance regarding items that are not on this agenda. And there is a 5-minute time limit with the discretion of the chair. Are any public comments from or items that are not on the agenda tonight? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to our monthly reports. Westchester Fire Department's up first.
Good evening, Justin McClure, Assistant Fire Chief. Can you just go to the slide deck? Keep going. Unless Billy didn't get it in there. I'll just talk about the year ending 2025. So we set another record year. Call volume continues to increase. We finished the year at 1775, and that includes a reduction of a number of fire alarms in the surrounding townships. So that's good news. But overall call volume continues to be up, and we were in service for over 769 hours. One of the things that I like to highlight about 2025 is the amount of training that we did. So the department trained for over 12,000 hours. And of those 12,000 hours, the Westchester Volunteer Firemen's Relief Association spent over $107,000 to train the volunteers of the fire department. We're really fortunate to have such a robust Volunteer Firemen's Relief Association because it eases the financial burden on the 6 municipalities. So we're incredibly fortunate for that. Additionally, in 2025, if you didn't see the press release and the news articles 2 weeks ago, the borough was able to obtain a grant for over $880,000 from the local share account in the Commonwealth to assist with the purchase of the new fire engine, which is being delivered in 2028. So we're incredibly grateful for all the local elected officials that supported that, as well as Senator Comita and Representative Pielli, who did a ton of work in Harrisburg to make that happen. And we're incredibly fortunate to get that grant. As far as December goes, December is trending just how January. January is trending exactly how 2025 ended. Call volume continues to be incredibly steady. The department is busy with a variety of calls, all while maintaining that training hour requirement. So you can see on the report that we've actually had a number of fires that tends to occur this time of year, especially with the cold. We're also seeing, like I know was talked about in Public Works, frozen pipes, both for domestic water and sprinkler systems. We'll see that through the end of the week as things continue to thaw out, and we'll be supporting the municipalities in getting those systems restored. Do you have any questions for me?
You guys have any questions? No. Thank you very much, and we're grateful that you got the grant too.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Westchester Police Department, Chief Lee.
Hi, Josh Lee, I'm the police chief. Real quick, I hesitate to mention the word snow because we're all sick of it. But with my partners in the room, with the fire department, with Good Fellowship, and with Public Works, I just want to say, make everybody aware of how well everybody worked together to keep town as safe as we could with a lot of challenges that the snow and ice gave us. Mainly thanks to Public Works for doing such a knockout job of keeping streets passable for emergency vehicles. So thank you. Moving on to the report, what's new in 2026? We had 2 retirements at the end of 2025, which means we now have vacancies in the police department, which is exciting. Our hiring campaign is well underway. In fact, 1 week from today is the deadline for applications. To date, we've received more than 75 applications for the vacancies, which is exciting. hoping to get a great candidate, a great pool of candidates to be able to stay on track. And if we stay on track, we're due to hire new officers in May or June of this year, which is good. The website is there. Anybody that's watching can click the website or Google police hiring Westchester Borough, and the website will come up where an application can be submitted online.
Chief, I do have one question.
Sure.
Besides the 2 retirements, are you hiring any additional officers, or what is the total that you're looking to?
So we are, Borough Council has allocated 45 officers for the department. We have 42 now. I'd love to get to 44 or 45. It's a constant state of flux. You know, there's always in and out.
Talked about it before, yeah.
Yeah. So
Constant recruit.
So we're doing well, but expect as the years move on, probably every year we'll have a recruitment campaign. And if it keeps the way we're going, hiring good people, we're in a good spot. We're also in the civil service process for promotions for 2 officers to corporal and 2 corporals to sergeant. And this is because the 2 retirees from last year were both sergeants. So it creates those vacancies in those positions. I'm happy to say that civil services the process has worked. We have great candidates. The mayor has made decisions there, and I'm going to bring names to the work session next week and ask for full council's help in getting those officers promoted at the very end of the month. So that's exciting too. We recently, within the last month, filled a vacancy in a part-time communications officer position, which is good. That position's been vacant for a year. We have some challenges in there staffing wise, so that's going to be good. That candidate comes to us with prior 911 dispatch experience, which is great. She'll be up and running very quickly as far as learning the way to be a communications officer here in Westchester, because she has experience in a 911 room in Lancaster County. She's currently employed here in Chester County as a full-time probation officer, so she's in the industry, which is helpful too. Calls for service. I listed calls for service that we had in December and January because you'll recall we didn't meet last month. But there's nothing out of the ordinary in these numbers. In the next slide, we can break down the all other, which might be useful, but I'm sorry, I know we moved on already, Jeff, but on that first slide, low number of rapes, robberies, and felonious assaults, which is good. A high number of all others, which we can dig into in the next slide. Our public drunkenness arrests are high, or our highest rather. And I'll remind you, those are the calls where officers go out and they're dealing with mostly drunken, disorderly people. And it takes a lot of time for us to handle those situations, both on the street and then resolving them here at the police station, transporting people back to the police station, keeping our eye on the people while they're here being held until they're either transported to the hospital, sobering up here, or transported to a safe place. So while it's not a very serious criminal offense, it takes a lot of time from our officers there. Our noise complaints in December, we had 28 noise complaints, and we issued 8 citations out of those 28 complaints for the month of December. That ratio is a little higher than normal. A number of those citations came from one loud party, so 3 or 4 citations were written at one loud parties, which explains a little bit of that bump in the ratio there. And we'll see the opposite for noise in January. We had 25 complaints of noise in January and only 1 citation. More than half of these complaints were related to snow removal, either people calling because of loud snow blowers or fans operating, snow blowers and leaf blowers operating to remove snow. Most of the complaints were they weren't violations. A few were, but our officers are not quick to make people stop cleaning up snow, even though it's after 9 o'clock and technically in violation, because the idea there is really safety more than peace and quiet. So there's some competing interests there, but that's why those numbers or that ratio is a little out of alignment. And that's all I have in the regular report.
Thank you very much. Next is monthly GFAC report, Good Fellowship.
The year-end report. Good evening, Justin Robbins, Director of Operations, Good Fellowship Ambulance. I'm just going to review our 2025 year-end report since we didn't meet last month. So record-setting year for Good Fellowship with 8,994 calls. Of that, 2,268 were here in the borough, so a little over 25%. If you scroll down, keep on coming down. One thing I want to point out, if you scroll back up, sorry, right there. So you'll see under this interfacility transports and special operations that our highest volume of activity in 2025, other than 911 calls, was our safe car. We've discussed that multiple times up here. That's the SUV that we put in place to transport behavioral health patients that don't need an ambulance. They're no longer tying up an ER bed for a medical patient, and they're getting where they need to go to a behavioral health facility faster. So great to see that jump up to 408 responses in 2025. I expect that to grow again this year. And then down on the next page, you'll actually see, if you remember, we talked about direct transports to Haven Behavioral Hospital up here. I know that it says 8 for the year there, and that may seem insignificant, but that is the 8 first ones in Chester County that we've ever been able to take somebody to a place that wasn't an emergency department. So like I said, we all know that behavioral health is a crisis right now that we're dealing with nationwide. Those are patients that don't need a hospital. We were able to take them to the care they needed instead of a medical hospital. So really hoping that number jumps. We can continue to go on down. Patient demographics. So you'll notice that we do see a slight spike in our patients right at that 18 to 25 range. That is very abnormal for EMS agencies. This is actually lower than it normally is for us though. So that curve is starting to flatten out a little bit. And then we come back up as we go up in ages. Coming on down, we went to 249 calls at the university. And there's a list of all the calls we responded to. Any questions on our year-end report?
No, I just want to thank you for starting that direct to the behavioral health rather than taking these people to an emergency room where they could sit for a long time, tie up emergency room, tie up your ambulances. So this special card dedicated to just those transfers, et cetera, is so important. And you guys were one of the first to do it, I think, in the area.
Yeah, very excited about that. So
Kudos.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to D. As mentioned in the Public Works meeting, this is sort of a new item that we put in place here. For the purposes of our first meetings of the year, this is where we discuss sort of our high-level plans for what we want to see this committee work on over the next 12 months, or maybe some of them could be potentially longer, depending, especially since Bernie brought up the Public Works building. That's definitely going to be longer than a year. So I had a few, and I just wanted to kind of bring them up and see if there are any reactions from my colleagues up here. First one is something that has, I think we've discussed since I've been on council, so at least 2 years, is the truck traffic ordinance. And there's confusion in how the ordinance is written in terms of how a truck is defined. There may be other engineering requirements in terms of where truck traffic can go or how big the truck is. There are ordinances in our area, and obviously everybody sees the signs, and we know that there's no truck signs, and we haven't been able to enforce it because there's some discrepancy in the current ordinance. So my goal this year is to fix that, because we have had quite a few complaints, and it's been going on for a while. So I'm going to make this an initiative to get done this year. The second one is last year we faced an EMS funding gap. And this had to do with funding that Good Fellowship had not depended on, was kind of built into their budget for decades, and that dried up or it went away. And so what we ended up doing at the end of last year to pass the budget was to forego some of our own expenses in the borough that aren't shared among the other townships. Like we needed a new dump truck, and that was a couple $100,000 expense. And we forewent that a year to balance the budget and not raise taxes. That's not sustainable, especially after the snowstorm when we had so much equipment damaged. We need to not do that, or else we'll be short a large piece of equipment every year. So we need to figure out how to fill that funding gap, even if it's managing it on the expense side. And so that's an initiative that I want to work on this year. I just want to make that very clear. And that's a big one. And then the second one, there was a lot of good activity that happened last year in the Public Safety Committee around improving neighborhood quality of life. And that's whether it was putting, bright, colored signs at crosswalks, or whether it was finally figuring out how our point system works or didn't work and make fixes to that, so that when you have those noise violations that you saw in Chief Lee's report, and most of them were attached to one house, we're actually doing something about it that's enforcing the rule and trying to change that kind of behavior. So that was a good improvement. Other things that I would like to see us work on in terms of improving quality of life for the neighbors is reducing illegal parking. I mentioned excessive noise, and then vandalism and property damage, where we can address it or where we think we might be able to have solutions. So those are three pretty big items that I wanted to bring up. And I actually wanted to see if there were any questions about those from the public, from the audience tonight, or any feedback. Okay. We're up here working for you. So we're trying to do our best. So those are big goals, and we hope to accomplish all, if not most of them. Now we're moving on to old business. The only item for old business is to approve last meeting's minutes, which was back in December 2025. I was not on the Public Safety Committee. I read through them and looked at the video, and I did not see any discrepancies. Are you guys okay?
Fine.
Okay. All right, so consider that approved. And the next item category is new business. So item A, motion to approve a request from the Crime Victims Center to recognize Sexual Assault Awareness Month by hanging teal ribbons on lampposts on Market and Gay Street from New to Walnut Streets for the month of April. We have done this before, and actually it came through ACT when I was chairing. So are there any comments up here about doing this? No? Any comments from the public? Hanging ribbons. Okay, we'll consider that 3-0 to be discussed in work session. Recommendation. Next up, a motion to approve a resolution for Westchester Borough Emergency Operations Plan. There's an attachment. It looked like it was kind of empty when I looked at it, so I don't know. And I know Chief Brill. Oh, it is there. There it is.
All you're seeing as an attachment is the resolution. The plan item's not published because there's certain sensitive information is the right noun. Thank you. I was searching for it, and then I heard sensitive information in my ear. That's the right word. That should remain within the plan document itself. So that's why we didn't put it up as an attachment.
Okay, so I read the resolution. Do you have any issues up here with the resolution? Any comments from the public?
Kyle Hudson, Westchester Chronicle. Do you plan on releasing any information about the plan, or like with those maybe pieces redacted?
It's stuff like where we go for certain types of resources during certain types of events, so we don't want to disclose like where we're getting our supplies from. If the event happens to be, if there happens to be a external agent causing the event, we don't want it published where we're getting our resources from to help us address community-wide emergency issues. That's the basis of it.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's things like reunification too. We don't necessarily want to reveal those sources. So, yeah, so it's a little sensitive, but thanks for asking the question.
I will say, Brian, just to let you know, I did talk to John Brill. He said he couldn't be here tonight, but he said the only changes from this year from last year are the new council people and updating telephone numbers.
Great, thank you for that. Okay, next up is item C, discuss ordinance to require Borough Council to approve any 287G cooperation agreement to require council approval prior to any participation by the Westchester Police Department in immigration enforcement. And I know some people are here in the audience to discuss this and make comments, but I wanted to first give Councilman McGinnis and Councilman Kearns, who have both worked on this, a chance to introduce it. So I'll let Brian tee this up. What is this? First of all, what is 287G? What does this ordinance do? And what does it mean for us?
Thank you. And I just want to begin my remarks by saying that this was actually inspired by Ms. Kearns originally. She brought this up a couple months ago and about doing something about what can we do as a community. And so my goal was to work on an ordinance that would actually have community input in coordination and codifying with our home rule charter. This ordinance was vetted by our district attorney, the FOP, the head of the FOP, I should say, Chief Lee. Ms. Kearns and I met with the chief regarding this ordinance, our borough solicitor, State Rep Chris Pielli, and outside legal counsel. And what this ordinance effectively does, it affirms home rule authority. Westchester is a home rule municipality. Borough Council has the exclusive authority over municipal policy, spending, and borough resources. Entering in a 287G agreement is a policy decision, not an administrative action. It does not ban or block 287G. The ordinance does not prohibit participation. It requires approval at a public meeting, just as all of you are here today. Future councils retain full authority to approve participation if they choose. It ensures transparency and public input. Any proposed agreement must be publicly disclosed, reviewed in advance, considered at an open council meeting. Residents deserve clarity on police authority, required training, taxpayer costs, and duration of such an agreement. This protects taxpayer dollars because the 287G agreement uses borough resources, police time, training hours, equipment and technology, and public funding. Council has the oversight and ensures fiscal accountability. It respects the mayor's authority. It does not interfere with supervision of the police department. It does not affect day-to-day operations. And it clarifies discretionary federal program participation is legislative. Again, because this is a discretionary program, it is legislative. It preserves law enforcement cooperation. It explicitly allows compliance with warrants and court orders, subpoenas, lawful cooperation with federal authorities, and required information sharing under the law. Police retain full legal authority to do their jobs. That is the key. It keeps focus on public safety. It prioritizes crime prevention, community safety, and trust between residents and law enforcement. Residents should have the right to know what their law enforcement is doing and not doing. Any expansion into a federal enforcement must be publicly evaluated, just as what we're doing today at this meeting. It prevents backdoor policy changes. It stops unilateral decisions by future administrations. It requires public debate and a recorded council vote for major policy shifts. While a mayor may issue a statement or a policy, that's only good until that mayor's term or the police chief's term is over. It's legally sound and limited. It includes a severability clause and creates no private right of action. With that being said, it's designed for internal governance and not litigation. It's a democratic process that's guaranteed. The ordinance will be debated in committee as it is now. It would move forward in a work session. And then finally, at a public municipal hearing. Policy is made through transparency and democracy and not dictation. That is essentially what this ordinance does. I also do have legal precedent as far as, and I'll be able to answer any questions as far as legal precedent with respect to the Home Rule Charter, respect to court cases involving municipalities and Home Rule Charter within the state of Pennsylvania as well. Ms. Kearns does have also a public statement from Representative Chris Pielli, who sent out this afternoon, again, declaring support for this ordinance and again, for transparency purposes. To your question, Mr. Travis, that is essentially what this ordinance does. It protects local taxpayers and community policing at the local level.
Ms. Kearns, do you have a comment or weigh in or?
Well, just to start,
Yeah.
just to start, I think your original question was, what is a 287G agreement?
That's correct.
Yeah, so I'll read it right from ICE's website, and it says that the 287G program is to delegate state and local law enforcement officers the authority to perform specific ICE duties under the ICE's direction and oversight. So it's basically creating an agreement between the borough police and ICE in order to, these are my words, have the police act as pseudo mini ICE agents and perform some ICE duties in addition to their own. And before I go on, I think it's relevant that the mayor did issue a policy decision that Brian kind of referenced. Madam Mayor, would you be interested in speaking about that here before I speak?
So thank you for this opportunity. Councilwoman Kearns, thank you, Chair. And Committee Member McGinnis. I thank you all for creating this ordinance and being proactive about it. I think this entire county has been proactive about where their position is in standing with ICE. Last Friday, you may have noticed that the Chester County District Attorney and the chiefs of police for all of the county came out with a statement, and the very first paragraph says that they will not enter into any contract with ICE. we're fortunate that we live in Chester County because Chester County has always been proactive and to a certain extent progressive. And they believe in the sanctity of all life. And we are thankful for that. I am thankful for that as mayor of Westchester. So, however, I think what happened was, the events in Phoenixville certainly brought what's going on up close and personal. My concern was, as I've shared with those who asked me, my concern was that I did not want Westchester to be a mini Minnesota. I did not want violence and blood on the streets here in Westchester. We know that ICE is here in Chester County. Every day we get texts and calls and conversations of who they picked up and where they've been. And so this is a sign of the times that we live in, and it's sad and uncalled for in many instances. However, picking up 5 a day and picking up 50 in a day and having 1,000 people of ICE here as opposed to 1 or 2 vans here, that's a big difference. And our concern was always to protect the citizens of this borough, to protect all of the citizens so that nobody has a target on their back, so that Westchester doesn't become a target. And so even though we have practiced good policing and we have no intention of entering into any type of agreement with ICE, and I'm not sure where or why the confusion occurred or why someone even thinks that the Westchester Borough Police would do that. But it's important that it gets stated publicly and transparent, as Brian McGinnis has said, that we put our policy, what we've done, what we've been practicing into policy. And so this is what I've written and what the chief has written is more than temporary. It's effective. And so what I'd like to read is our statement. Like so many Americans, as the mayor of the borough of Westchester, I have been shocked by many recent events. And I have seen and felt the concerns of many of our community members. I would like to take this chance to remind everyone of the mission statement of the Westchester Police Department. And the mission of the Westchester Police Department, a law enforcement agency dedicated to the highest standards of professionalism and integrity, is to protect and serve our diverse communities by forging collaborative relationships. This has been the mission of the Westchester Police Department for more than 15 years, and it continues to drive our focus on quality public service and community engagement. And as mayor and civilian head of the police department, I meet regularly with the chief of police, Chief Lee, to ensure that we are meeting our mission in everything we do. So please know and understand that by policy, the Westchester Police Department does not enforce immigration laws. The Westchester Police Department does not inquire about people's immigration status, and it does not detain people based on immigration status. In the history of the Westchester Police Department, there has never been, and there will never be, a 287G agreement with the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. As of today's date, this practice is official written policy of the Westchester Police Department. The Westchester Police Department does serve everyone, regardless of immigration status, and the Westchester Police Department does investigate crime without regard to one's immigration status and works with the community we serve. And as mayor, I have to tell you, I am proud of the people of Westchester who overwhelmingly have demonstrated their fervent belief in the respect and sanctity of all human life, regardless of color. And for that, I'm appreciative. Chief Lee, would you like to? And we have copies if you'd like to have a copy. You want that?
Thank you.
Mhm.
And I'd just like to reiterate what the mayor said in those final paragraphs. Our job is to be community police officers, and we're fortunate here that in Westchester, we have a very long history of community policing, and that I promise will continue, and will continue beyond my campaign or beyond my tenure as chief, and hopefully forever. We're on the same page there. This morning, to put it into very simple words, I issued Special Order 26-01, which is a special order for all the police officers in Westchester. It sums up what's contained in several different policies. And it reads that this special order reiterates the fact that the Westchester Police Department does not enforce federal immigration law. Members of the Westchester Police Department do not inquire as to the immigration status of people with whom we come into contact. Members of the Westchester Police Department will not detain anyone based on their immigration status. The Westchester Police Department will continue to serve all members of our community, investigate crime, and assist victims without regard to one's immigration status.
Thank you, Mayor and Chief.
Do you have questions while we're up here?
Well, we can come back.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
You can come back there.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I just want to, I was pleasantly surprised and happy with the statement you put out, and I salute you for making it this morning.
Thank you.
And the reason I think the mayor's statement is so important is because the one thing I think I know for sure is that we cannot continue to remain silent and do nothing as a local government. We can't do that as our local immigrant community is terrorized and lives in fear. These are courageous people who are now being forced to live in the shadows. These are not the worst of the worst. These are our neighbors, our friends, our coworkers, and they are living in fear right now in Westchester. And I believe we need to step up. We need to act. Yet there are people, and let me finish, Mayor, there are people who are worried that by raising our hand and saying or doing anything that might annoy the current administration and stir up perhaps the president's base, and that will make Westchester more of a target and hurt the very people we're trying to protect. I hear that, I feel that, and that possibility has kept me awake more nights than I care to share. But I've seen enough to believe that we can't think that by staying silent, by keeping our heads down and trying not to be noticed or speak too loudly, that we can somehow hide from this storm, that the storm will pass by if we just don't call attention to ourselves. The storm is here, and it's not somehow going to disappear simply because we silently want it to do so. Our immigrant community is in the crosshairs now, here and around the country. So as of today, we have the mayor's policy statement. But the question is, should we stop there or continue the discussion of an ordinance that would actually enshrine opposition to ICE into local law. I have the utmost respect for the mayor. She knows, I hope you know that, and our police chief. But the unfortunate fact is, as quickly as a statement can be made, it can also be withdrawn and changed. And some would say, don't bother passing an ordinance, don't bother putting out policy statements, actually go out there and help our immigrant community. And that is a valid statement, but the things are not mutually exclusive. It's not a question of one or another. We can have a policy statement, we can have an ordinance, and we better be out there physically helping our immigrant community, bringing them food and meals because they're afraid to leave the house, escorting their children to and from the bus stop, taking them to their doctor's appointments and places of worship because they're afraid to drive their own cars. It's not a question of either or. It should be an and. We can and should do all those things and step up as a local government as only we can and say no. And Westchester wouldn't be alone in this. Other townships, municipalities all over Chester County, they've already taken steps. They've already raised their hand and said no. And think about that. The more municipalities who step up and say no, the less the risk of any one of us. So we cannot let the fear that's intentionally created by this administration, we can't let that fear force us into silence or inaction. So as I said, the question now is, do we stop with the mayor's policy statement, or do we continue to consider an ordinance? And if we do write an ordinance, does this one go far enough, or does it go too far? And one of the beautiful things about this ordinance is its measured approach. It's not written with inflammatory or virtue signaling, provocative language. We're not interested in that. It does not make Westchester a sanctuary city. It does not prohibit ICE from doing its legitimate duties in Westchester. We don't have that power. What this ordinance does do is what Brian said. It is measured. And if ICE is going to come after us for this, they're going to come after us for anything or nothing. So let me make clear what the mayor said, though. Right now, the Westchester Police Department has no intention of signing an agreement with ICE and working as little mini pseudo-ICE agents. The Westchester Police Department is committed to serving all the people of Westchester, regardless of your immigration status. So when you pick up the phone and call 911, you can know for sure that the person on the other end of the line here in Westchester doesn't care about your documentation. They care about you as a human being, and they want to keep you safe. This is going to be an issue with passion on all sides.
So,
And what the mayor has brought up is new. So the question is, do we stop here? Do we continue to discuss the ordinance and perhaps stir up hostility?
Ms. Kearns, we gotta move this to the
Yes.
public. We gotta get some public comment. So
Well, and that's
I don't
what
mean
I'm.
to cut you off, but we do need to wrap up.
Okay, let me finish this. Right now, I see real value in backing up the mayor's policy statement with a more permanent, publicly transparent ordinance. And that means we have to trust the people of Westchester that we can have this ongoing conversation and that we can do so without devolving into hostility and chaos.
so I just want to just reiterate two things, if I may, Chair.
Quickly.
One, what we have done today has made our practice into policy. ICE didn't just come today. This hasn't just been a concern as of this week or last week. This has been ongoing for the last couple of years, and this has been our practice for the last couple of years. It did not just start. It has always been our practice. What we've just done today to assuage people's fears is make it public, make it known, make it seen so people understand how we work, how we operate. That's what we've done. And my concern, and it still is my concern, is I hope that in your quest to do good, because what you're doing is good, you have not put a target on the very people that you want to help. And that is my hope, and that is my prayer, because it's brown and Black people who are being targeted. It's brown and Black people whose lives are at stake. And you do have the privilege of making all of the ordinances you want and not having to suffer the consequence. And I know who you are and who your heart is. And I know that you care about everybody, but I am concerned about the very people we want to protect. And I'm done, and thank you, Chair.
And Chair,
Thank you.
let me just close, just 2 seconds. Mis amigos, te vemos, te escuchamos, eres bienvenidos aquí, eres importante. Por favor, dinos qué piensas. Basically what I said is, we see you, we hear you, we welcome you here. You are important, and please tell us your thoughts.
Okay, back to the original question, considering an ordinance in support of Borough Council approving cooperation for any involvement with 2287G. Two approaches. I believe everybody wants the same thing here. It sounds to me like everybody wants the same thing, right? A couple different ways, potentially some different approaches that go a little farther. So I want to open up the floor to anyone else who wants to make a comment to the public, please. This is your moment. Yes, come up and state your name and your address.
Hi, everyone. I'm Diane Heron, 101 East Evans Street. I was the prior mayor of Westchester, as you may know. And I am here because I take great exception to Mr. McGinnis's interpretation of our home rule charter. Home rule charters vary from municipality to municipality because they are written by the citizens and then they are voted on by the people of the municipal community. So they differ from municipality to municipality, and they are written so that the people can exercise as much control as they can over their own communities. So our home rule charter very specifically and very clearly puts the mayor in charge of the police department. There are clearly relations between Borough Council and the mayor and the police department, and they include approving the budget. They include approving staffing appointments, and the municipal administrative side of the government also has control over the civilian employees in the police department. However, and I read from the borough's website that the mayor, under the home rule charter, let me see, I lost my, hold on a second, controls the police department, directs the activities of the police department through the chief of police. While Borough Council controls police department hiring and finances, all operational control is vested in the office of the mayor. So I would like to read to you the definition of operational control. Operational control refers to the day-to-day management, oversight, and regulation of the police department's activities, processes, and resources to ensure they operate efficiently, safely, and in compliance with established standards. It involves implementing policies, procedures, and monitoring mechanisms to achieve specific operational goals and to manage risks. When I was mayor, I was challenged from the inside legally and from the outside in court. And I won. And I understand this better than most. And I'm here to just implore you to respect the mayor's authority, to respect the chief of police of this community and the policy that has been put in place, because that is the final decision. That doesn't prohibit you from doing this exercise if you so desire, but it is up to the mayor and the chief to determine their policies regardless of the outcome of this process. So I would suggest that the fact that they have codified this as policy in this police department, that renders this discussion kind of moot, because we all know what the policy is now. And I'd suggest that we all unite behind her and behind the chief and behind this incredibly professional police department and celebrate it and move on, because there's a whole lot of other work that needs to be done for the people of this community, for the undocumented people who live here. So that is my ask of you, and that is my very well-informed and experienced interpretation. And lastly, I just do want to thank you for bringing this to light, because I do think it was really important that the people of this community clearly know what the policy is. And because you brought this up, this policy has been codified, it's been put on social media, it's been announced, and now everybody knows. So thank you for that, and thank you for the time.
Thank you. And I just want to clarify that entering into an agreement would obligate borough personnel, training time, equipment, and administrative capacity that may expose the borough to fiscal and legal risk. As such, participation constitute a matter of municipal policy and resource allocation, which lies squarely within Borough Council's legislative authority. Again, this is because it's a discretionary policy, meaning that the borough can at any time enter into this policy. That's why it would have to be codified with Borough Council. Sorry, but you're incorrect.
No, I am not, sir.
You are.
I am not.
I have legal standing and backing with this.
So do I.
You do not.
Look at your home rule charter, read it.
This is from, that is interpreted with the home rule charter.
I understand the home rule charter.
And again, with that, it does not involve day-to-day operations.
Thank you.
I know what it
I'd like
involves.
I would like to hear from somebody else in the audience. We can debate the home rule charter with the solicitor. Anyone else want to make a comment, a suggestion, a question? Please state your name and your address.
Yeah. My name is Dr. Curry Malott. I'm a professor at Westchester University. I live on 956 Matlack. I just wanted to commend the mayor for her courageous statement and the police chief. I want to commend Councilwoman Kurz and McGinnis for this ordinance that they're putting forward. And I agree with Councilwoman Kearns that the statement is good. An ordinance would be better. Helping people on a day-to-day basis is also needed. Everything is needed. I just don't understand how this ordinance will bring more heat. We've seen across the country that ICE is invading neighborhoods and communities willy-nilly, executing people on the street. I mean, we're in a serious crisis situation here, and this ordinance is the very least that we can do. I would also like to see the police department. It's great that the mayor in her statement included part of the mission statement for the police department. And part of that mission statement includes protecting people, all people, not permitting racial profiling, hate crimes. ICE is racially profiling people across the country. They're abducting people without due process. I would like to see law enforcement step in and protect the citizens against racial profiling and abducting people without due process. Serve and protect the community against these unlawful terrorist actions that we're all being terrified by. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Rick London. I live at 302 West Biddle Street. I did not bring any notes. I normally don't speak because it makes me very nervous in front of people. I'm not a mayor. I never will be. I'm not a former mayor. And I'm just a person that lives here and pays taxes. These are extraordinary times, extraordinary. And we have to do our most in this community, outside this community, the state and the country for that matter, to do as much as we can to put barriers in front of this paramilitary group that is going through this country. And this will not stop them from sending hordes of ICE agents here. None of this. What the mayor has had to say will not stop it. You cannot predict what this president will do. All he knows is he's got retribution. We all know that in this room. And he will go to great lengths to punish anybody, a Democratic leaning community, for anything. There's two things. The reason I think this ordinance is the only thing to do. One of them is that I do not, as a taxpayer, want any single penny going to supporting ICE. Not a single penny. The second is that the mayor, the police department, all of them, we support them. We do. We love the mayor. We love the police department. We love this borough. All of that is true. We need to go a step further and put up the barriers that do not respond to the idea that the police do not do this. It does not do that. What we need are things, this ordinance, which is it cannot do this. It will not, because of an ordinance in place that puts the power, freedom, democracy in the people's hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Any additional comments? Anybody else want to come up? And then this is going to have to be the last one or two. And then we got to move on.
Hello, my name is Kavi, 224 North Everhart. One of the things that I am the most concerned about with regards to this topic broadly is the way that the children of this community may be impacted. I have seen enough of what has happened in Minneapolis that I do not want preschools, elementary schools, even high schools, barged into and students picked up during their school days. I especially do not want any of our existing police resources allocated to doing that. This ordinance, it seems, will do a wonderful job of keeping our police force from enacting any of this horrific behavior on the behalf of immigration's enforcement. I would like to second what many people have already said and say that we do need to make absolutely certain that we are doing what we can to protect our people in the potential event that they are unlawfully pulled from their places of worship, their schools, places where they are supposed to be safe to engage in lawful and expected parts of civil life. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you state your name and address?
Yes, Margaret Cole, Gretchen, 503 West Lafayette Street. And I just have a few questions, which I realize you will not have time to answer. But to think about and consider as you work on this. I appreciate all the work you've done, love the policy statement, and thanks to our former mayor, Diane Herron, for bringing some other issues to your attention, which go over my head. So just thinking about, we have a policy statement, why do we need an ordinance? I just, as not a lawyer, my question would be, so it's belt and suspenders, you know, is that such a bad thing in these unprecedented times? Better too much than too little to protect our community. Speaking of which, one of my questions is how you plan to communicate these commitments, the ordinance and the policy, to people who may not be on Facebook, who may not read English, who may not, you know, I'm not sure all the ways that you try to reach out, and it's a dilemma these days, right? I mean, we have a newspaper, we have a couple of newspapers, but not everyone reads them. We have some news channels, not everyone listens to them. And there is a community that I think is not really getting this news, and that's the community that needs it the most. So I just invite you to, you know, or maybe you already are thinking about that question and how to, because I can tell you, I have friends with immigration status who have been in car accidents or have had, you know, some kind of situation where most people would call 911 and they won't do it because they do not know what will happen next. And I mean, I can tell them, oh, I think it'll be fine. Sure, it's fine for me. It's easy for me to say that. So I think that's something that needs to be worked on. And, you know, I guess the other thing I wanted to have more transparency on is how, and I don't mean this to be, you know, to imply anything. It's just a question that I have and others might have. There's a policy, there's an ordinance. What are the mechanisms that keep 42 officers in compliance with the policy? That's something that I would like to know more about. What happens if someone feels like they have experienced a violation of the policy? So I just put those questions out there. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. All right. So I'm sorry, I cut off the last comment. I think we've heard pretty much the saturation of comments from everybody. Feels like. No, we got to move on. Yeah, all right.
I'm not sure, can we do this?
It's a really good thing.
2 minutes.
Holly Brown, 37 West Gay Street. I understand what you're all talking about. I think you all feel pretty much the same way. I have one quick question, though. Doesn't this ordinance somewhat infer that a contract is possible with ICE? That's what concerns me, because I don't see it as follows at the bottom that's explaining that. It's almost opening up the idea that, gee, if we all decide, we can enter into a contract. So that's why I don't love that ordinance.
I could answer that for you, Holly, real quick. And you're right, it kind of does seem like it does infer, but what it does do is, let's say, for example, there is a new mayor, there is a new police chief, and they don't honor that policy because that policy is only temporary. And Police Chief Lee's directive is only temporary until the next police chief. And so what the ordinance would do is, if they tried to decide to enter into that agreement, it would have to come through council. It would have to come through a public input and debate.
But I think what
That's all
Holly
we
might
do.
be saying is it doesn't go far enough.
That's
He
what I'm
wants
saying.
closed
There's no, I
door.
went through the whole thing as follows. You don't complete that down at the bottom. So,
Oh, no, well, with that, just to let you know, the entire ordinance isn't up there, I don't believe. That was the decision of the solicitor.
so there's still more discussion to
There
be
is,
had.
there is, and what I can do, if you want after the meeting, I could email you the entire ordinance as written.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we had one, since we allowed one more, we'll, all good? Okay, all right, we got to call the previous question for a recommendation to work session. So
Yes.
Start. Yep.
Yes.
So I'm sorry, I missed the motion. What's the motion?
So we are discussing an ordinance, but we want to move this recommendation to adopt the ordinance with full council.
Work session.
Right. I second that.
Yeah. All right, 3-0. All right.
So you might want to explain what we just did, so in case they don't get
No,
it.
I think we're good. Yeah. All right. D, motion to approve resolution for Westchester Regional Emergency Response Team Agreement, which is attached.
This looks familiar. It's because we approved it September 17th, 2025. But if something's a good idea, it's worth doing twice. So this is a mutual aid agreement amongst a regional consortium of townships to, Chief Lee can do a much better job of describing this than I can. But when it's circulated around the other townships, certain minor changes were made, and it's coming back to us. And I just want to make sure we adopt the version that the others have adopted.
I do remember this. If you want to come up and explain it, fine. I think we're
If
good.
you don't need any further explanation, we'll keep it short. If you
Okay.
have questions, I'll answer.
Perfect. I don't have any questions. 3-0. All right.
Yes.
Work session. Item number E, motion to approve WCBIDA request to install flags. So this is the bid to install flags on streetlights downtown, celebrate America 250. When I read through this, I saw you were asking for assistance from Public Works.
Yes, to physically, so we would purchase all the material.
Yes.
I can hang some of them myself, but it would be a help on the burden if staff
I'm just
wise.
wondering if it's a misplaced agenda item. So it should have been in Public Works because that's, okay.
So
we'll put it on we'll put it on for discussion, or we'll put it on a work session for discussion. I don't think it's going to be an issue, but
Okay.
I didn't know if this committee should approve that because it's a public.
Okay, so if you wanted me to explain that picture, that's somewhat of the idea is we would place flags on Gay Street, Market Street, and somewhat High Street. One thing going with High Street was we just have to consider height with 18-wheelers coming through if there's enough clearance. Gay Street and Market Street are protected by the parklets, so there'll be some refining that will work on a staff level with this. But the concept would be that we would put this up in May through Veterans Day to celebrate America 250 throughout the year. So this is just one idea that we're kicking around. The downtown Westchester would cover all the costs for both the hardware for the flag holders as well as the flags themselves. We were just they're borough property, so we need to get your sign off on hanging anything on them. And then if Public Works could assist, that would be always helpful.
Yeah, I think for the first part, I think it's great to see that you're making strides already for this plan of celebration. So I don't think there's any objections? Okay.
Okay. See you next week.
Approve the following special event applications. Keith?
Give it 1 second.
Keith Karowski, Westchester Parks and Rec Director, going over special events. I want to tackle them one at a time, but really quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all standard 5Ks in the borough southwest loop. That's the map I just handed you. So they all run the same location. They all provide support to police officers by the police department. Fine. Number 1, the only difference is that's on a Sunday. Number 2, 4, and 5 are on Saturdays, and number 4 is on a Thursday. That's the only differences. They're just different days of the week. Again, exact same setup, exact same cost, same resources by the police department. Just want to give you any questions with those 5Ks.
Did we do all of these last year or some new?
Number 1 and number 2 are new. Number 3, 4, and 5 are returns from last year with no complaints or concerns from the year previous. Any issues with those 5?
We can just approve these in a bat.
In a batch.
Daryl, do you have a comment?
What time for number 1?
Of course you asked me that. I think I have it on Jeff, could you pull those up? Number 1 is the March for Pause on March 1st. Should be there. I'll tell Daryl later. I'll fill him in. And then if there's no questions with the standard 5Ks, they all
Yes,
run that
the
same
rest
route.
There are different days, it's different start times.
I'm not running any of them, so that's good.
All right, so 3-0 for that batch.
Okay. Number 6, 8, 9, and 10 are all Westchester traditions. The only change to that would be that was discussed at a previous Public Safety Committee meeting. The annual Halloween parade is now moving back to a Wednesday night from the Sunday experiment.
Thank you.
So you can see all the rain dates. Any problem with those numbers as
Any
mentioned?
objections?
They're all, there
I-
is no,
All good,
It-
3-0.
I thought we were calling it the Westchester.
I apologize. We're calling it, for the 45th annual, we're changing the name from the Chester County Restaurant and Food Truck Festival to the Westchester.
I didn't even see that, but it's a great
So
idea.
my apologies.
That is a great idea.
And then number 7 is because, and John just spoke to this, is obviously everyone knows this is USA 250. Think of the same exact layout as the restaurant festival, a different theme. This will be a timeline theme down Gay Street. And then High Street will be similar to what you used to see for Super Sunday, with tried and true events that keep families around with children to support the event. The other aspect of this is that the 2 parking roof garages would be used for watching parties of the drone show that would take place as the finale, as we can't do fireworks here in the borough, but we can do drones. That is literally, this is being planned and organized by the Westchester Area Council of Governments. I've been asked to chair this committee because the event is taking place in the downtown, and we've had very, very good success with running our events in the downtown. More information will come about, but that's the general gist of things. Again, a timeline down Gay Street, tried and true activities on High Street with drone viewing parties from atop of the Bicentennial and the Chestnut Street garages.
Is this the same drone show that they'll be doing in West Goshen? Same
Different. We have
Different
this would be a 100 drone show. I don't know what their number is.
Any objections? Any comments from the general public on any of these items? Thank you.
Rain or shine?
Who?
Rain or shine?
Rain or shine, if it's a monsoon, probably not. Thank you.
All right. Last item, other business. Is there any other business to discuss? Okay, we are adjourned at 7:45.